Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. On the heels of this weekend's action between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, their second fight, Clarissa Shields posted this to her social media saying, the greatest woman of all time, Clarissa, versus the best woman on the planet, Katie. Who do you think would win?
This again.
I interpreted this post as a jab at both Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano on the heels of their legendary fight. You wouldn't expect aught to a better beef, for example, to start calling out Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia or Teofimo Lopez. You wouldn't expect Dimitri Bivol to call out Arnold Barboza or Jose Ramirez.
Who would win?
You wouldn't expect those fighters to postulate as to how a fight between them and someone who's so much smaller than they are would go.
No, it's ridiculous.
Clarissa is a ridiculous person who is allowed to be ridiculous openly, and that doesn't mean that she's not a great fighter. She's a great fighter and she's accomplished and all of that, but her temperament. You're too goddamn big to be worrying about Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Katie debuted as a lightweight and Amanda's a featherweight. You debuted as a super middleweight and your last fight was at light heavyweight. What the hell do you look like worrying about?
It's ridiculous.
Couple of girls that just fought at super lightweight? Are you serious? Do you have no situational awareness?
It's ridiculous.
So at least one Twitter user had a sobering take saying Taylor's resume, Amanda Serrano 2 times, Chantel Cameron 2 times, Natasha Jonas, to Clarissa Shields' resume, Savannah Marshall.
Well, Katie's resume is much deeper than that, but the point was made.
Clarissa Shields responded by mentioning her fight with Hannah Gabriels, Christina Hammer, Frenchan Cruz, Marie-Eve Dicaire, Femke Hermans, Ivana Habazin.
Okay.
Yeah, Hannah Gabriels was a good scalp, so was Christina. But how do you bring up Frenchan Cruz? When you fought Frenchan, that was in a 4-rounder, and you were both making your pro debut.
Marie-Eve Dicaire was beaten by Natasha Jonas, and Natasha Jonas was beaten by Katie Taylor.
Ivana Habazin. Natasha Jonas is about to fight Ivana Habazin, and if Natasha Jonas beats Ivana Habazin, the same applies. Most level-headed boxing fans that keep up with the sport know that Katie Taylor's resume is by and large deeper, much deeper than Clarissa Shields' resume. There's no comparison.
None.
Clarissa Shields and her would-be supporters are unaccepting of this perspective. To answer the question, who would win? Clarissa Shields or Katie Taylor? Clarissa Shields.
She would win.
That doesn't actually make her better. If you put Inouye, who's widely regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, if you put him in there with Chris Billum Smith, yeah, Chris would likely beat him because he's so much bigger.
Zerto would likely beat him because he's so much bigger.
There are a lot of guys in, say, the cruiserweight division that would beat Naoya Inoue even though they're not considered pound for pound like he is. Why?
Because weight classes matter.
So did people all of a sudden forget that? Because I saw the usual suspects, the usual riffraff, egging Clarissa Shields on,
Trash.
enabling her trashy and uncouth, déclassé behavior.
You go, queen.
She's trying to steal their thunder is what it is. What she's implying is that she could do the job on Katie that Amanda didn't do,
And that Katie's not the best for beating Amanda because she would beat Katie. That's what she's implying. That's what this is.
with a vocal minority behind her, enabling her delusions of grandeur.
Jealous.
She's jealous of Katie. She's jealous of Amanda. She was already jealous of the both of them before this weekend's fight, but now that they fought again and made the kind of money that they made.
It's even worse.
So Katie and Amanda are said to have made an estimated $12 million between them. 6 for Katie, 6 for Amanda. And I don't think for a second that Clarissa Shields is happy for either of them or the precedent that this sets moving forward for women boxers.
She's too insecure to be happy for them.
She's too insecure to be happy for anyone. She's a glory hog. She's always trying to steal somebody's thunder.
Well, the idiots online say that she would beat Katie Taylor. Well, I would expect that she should. She's so much bigger than she is, younger than she is.
The GWOAT. Greatest wannabe of all times, because you want to be thought of like Katie Taylor. You want to be thought of like Amanda Serrano. You want to get paid like they get paid.
Greatest wannabe.
She's been a professional boxer in the paid ranks just as long as Katie Taylor, but has nowhere near the same fanfare, influence, or earning power, drawing power, even though her and Katie both debuted in 2016. She doesn't fight as often, doesn't make as much, is not as well received.
Why didn't Netflix reach out to her if she's the greatest woman of all times?
What Clarissa wants is to be thought of as the greatest woman of all times for fighting subpar competition in barren divisions less often than everybody else is fighting. And that's what her fans want too. One guy who goes by the name Lost Files.
One of these guys who's too goddamn ugly to use his face in his own profile.
He got mad at me for pointing it out, saying, grown-ass man stays talking down a female. You can tell bro ain't have no father figure in his life.
Luke, I am your father.
Idiot. I can tell you have very low self-esteem that you can't use your own picture in your own profile and that you've got less than a 9th grade education, that you're misspelling grade school words like father.
I can tell that you lurk on my social media and my YouTube channel since you're aware I'm not as high on Shields as you are.
Why you mad?
He continued, he stays talking down on Shields, stays throwing shade. Like, I don't know, as a grown-ass man, that shit is whack to me.
So stop following my social media.
I'll never disrespect and continue to put down a young black female that came from the ground up.
Well, I don't care what she is or where she came from.
I wasn't raised like that.
Well, nobody cares how you were raised, or where, or what you are, as that has the most to do with your evaluation. It's tribalism, and you expect me to play along in this shared delusion.
Why you mad?
Katie and Amanda are better than Clarissa Shields in every way you can imagine, and that's why they make more.
Why you mad?
Katie and Amanda have broken the glass ceiling in women's boxing. The earning potential a woman boxer has, if they have a chance to make more, it's because of them.
Why you mad?
Not Clarissa. Nobody likes Clarissa.
Why you mad?
And I don't give a shit what you have in common with her that you think is so goddamn important. It's important to you, not to me.
Bitch.
Get up the nerve to show your own face on your social media, you hermit.
Dweeb.
You don't even have the courage to show your face without getting laughed at, hiding behind Google's stock images.
Coward.
I know you're listening. I know why you're mad. I know why Clarissa's mad, why she's jealous. Because she just don't measure up to Katie and Amanda. And so, I saw Michael Benson post a list of the longest reigning world champions in men's boxing here today. Artur Beterbiev came in at number 1 with 7 years. Terence Crawford came in at number 2 with 6 years and 5 months. Canelo Alvarez came in at number 3, 6 years and 2 months. Emmanuel Navarrete came in at 4 years and 1 month. And Alexander Usyk, he came in at number 5, 3 years and 2 months. To which veteran boxing scribe, if you even want to call him that,
He's more like a member of Gervonta Davis's street team than an actual journalist.
Ali Sekbak responded by saying that Tank has been a champion since 2017.
No, he hasn't.
Gervonta Davis first became IBF super featherweight champion in 2017, but his reign as a champion ended that same year when he blew the weight on the scales and was stripped of the title. His reign as IBF champion lasted approximately 7 months, whereas the fighters on this list, these are consecutive reigns.
When you say that Artur Beterbiev, who ranks in at number 1, has been a champion for 7 years, that's 7 years consecutively without any breaks.
Whereas Gervonta was stripped of the title in August of 2017, and he didn't become a champion again until April of 2018, when he picked up the WBA title
In the Jesus Cuellar fight?
at that same weight. And it's important to note that Jesus Cuellar was not actually WBA champion at the time. This is a guy who was coming off a loss and 2 years of inactivity that they brought up for Gervonta. To make matters worse, the WBA manufactured a title to give to Gervonta. They made it up out of thin air.
Huh?
9 months prior to Gervonta's fight with Jesus, Puerto Rico's Alberto Machado beat Jezreel Corrales for what was then the full WBA title, the full title.
9 months before.
9 months later, the WBA made the dubious decision to demote Alberto to regular champion so they could promote Gervonta to full champion for fighting a guy coming off a loss and 2 years of inactivity. But that is how Gervonta became a champion again at super featherweight, which is not a consecutive reign, because that's saying that from August of 2017 till April of 2018, Gervonta didn't have a belt. He wasn't a champion, so you can't put him on this list.
When you think about his reign as WBA super featherweight champion, that ended the following year in 2019 when he moved up from 130 up to 135 and picked up a regular title.
Emphasis on regular title. Vasil Lomachenko had the full one. He had the full title. Gervonta didn't challenge him for it. So are we now counting regular titles, secondary titles, baby belts essentially, as full titles so that Gervonta can seem like he belongs on this list? That's what Ellie Sekbak is doing.
Ridiculous.
And the full title that Gervonta held at 130 pounds was subsequently vacated and picked up by Leo Santa Cruz. Yet another example of how Gervonta has not reigned as a champion, not for several years, as many consecutively as these fighters. So why does Ellie Sekbak want him ranked among these fighters? Why does he want him on this list? Same reason that some guys want you to say Clarissa is the best woman boxer.
DEI.
Inclusivity. They want these fighters to be included for no other reason than where they're from. A list like this one is supposed to be a meritocracy. You make the list based on merit.
You're supposed to.
Just like a pound-for-pound list. If you're in the pound-for-pound, you're supposed to be there on merit.
You're supposed to.
What guys like Ellie Sekbak and Clarissa Shields' fans want is they don't want it to be based on merit, they want it to be based on preference.
Proximity.
Just stupid. You can have Gervonta Davis make an appearance on your own list 3, 4, 5 times, as many times as you want. But the actual people that cover boxing,
The journalists, the real ones.
the actual boxing writers and pundits in this sport that cover it, they are expected to have journalistic integrity and objectivity.
All of which Ellie Sekbak has none.
Because he is more of a videographer for the fighters that give him access. He's more of a member of their street team than an actual pundit, a journalist.
He's not a writer.
He's not a journalist. The other day, it was announced that Turkey El Al Sheikh has purchased Ring Magazine from Oscar de la Coca. They're under new management. They're giving the brand a facelift. And one can only hope that now that they're under new management, the sport, the rankings, and just all of that will get the kind of coverage it deserves. A meritocracy.
Not the bullshit we've been seeing.
Gervonta Davis is not a good fighter, let alone a pound-for-pound fighter. He doesn't belong anywhere near a pound-for-pound list. He's garbage. And if you like him, you're garbage too.
Bitch.
Do something. You can't, because you're weak and feeble. Your pea-sized brain can't contend.
Can't process.
Can't get past your own feelings because you have the mind and the temperance of a child. You don't belong here.
Get out.
Go to one of those other channels, the bigger ones, bigger than this one, where they manufacture data, where they pander to the audience for metrics. That's what you want. That's what you need.
Baby one is Baba.
That's how you need to be treated. To watch boxing and enjoy it, you need to be lied to. And I'm not the one to do it, but there are ample content creators who can and will. So go to them.
We deal in facts here. We deal in truth, even when it's inconvenient.
And the inconvenient truth is, the American boxer and the American boxing scene as a whole is too comfortable being mediocre, being ridiculous.
Utterly ridiculous.
When a Clarissa Shields, who last fought at 175 pounds, is worried about a girl who debuted as a lightweight and just fought at 140.
That's ridiculous.
When an Ellie Sekbak tries to fudge the numbers and fudge the data for his favorite fighter for no other reason than he's given access.
That's ridiculous.
Or when an Edgar Berlanga proposes that he have a rematch with Canelo Alvarez, reacting to this past weekend's fight between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, Edgar Berlanga, right off the loss to Canelo, said, "We need that Canelo rematch with Serrano and Taylor on the undercard. Biggest card of 2025.
That's ridiculous.
Utterly ridiculous. What about Edgar Berlanga's fight? His performance against Canelo warrants a rematch.
He didn't even do anything.
He didn't do nothing. I don't remember Edgar Berlanga winning a round, a single round in that fight. But because you know how good you're not,
Pay attention.
because you already had the big fight with Canelo, and now you have the rest of the division to contend with, and you know what your limitations are. You know how good you're not. You're ridiculous enough to ask for a rematch.
Why?
Why on earth would Canelo Alvarez fight you for a second time? To achieve what? To accomplish what?
Ridiculous.
It is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. And that is what the American boxer and the American boxing scene has devolved into in this latest cycle. You're so scared, so afraid of what you'll have to deal with now because you already fought Canelo, you already popped that cherry, you lost.
You don't have an O to protect anymore.
He's in one of the deepest divisions, one of the deeper divisions in all of boxing, because at 168 you have Munguia and Mabili and Melenkuziev,
Caleb Plant, William Skull, Vladimir Shishkin,
Diego Pacheco, and that's not even counting what 160-pounders might move up to 168 over time. That you're in a deep division with a lot of great fights to make, but you're only focused on Canelo because you don't think you can beat those other guys. You don't think you can beat anybody else. You can't beat Canelo either, but if you lose to him, you have the built-in excuse that, well, he's Canelo.
Yeah, and you're ridiculous.
That you could take to your own social media and make a request like this publicly with a straight face. You want a rematch with Canelo for what?
He called out Jake Paul, too.
Called him out saying, I will mess you up, Jake Paul. Puerto Rico keeps tagging me. You messed up a 60-year-old man. Puerto Rico is mine.
That's another guy he's begging for a payday. That's another guy he's begging, Jake Paul. He's not calling him out for honor or virtue or anything like that.
He's just showing up for a check. That's what the American boxer has devolved into. He's just showing up for a check. He just wants to get paid because as a boxer, he knows he's not good enough to make it on his own, carve out his own lane, make your own legacy, win your own fights. It's all right if you lost to Canelo. You can beat some other guys.
Not if you're Edgar.
If you're Edgar, you beg Canelo to give you a rematch for what was a one-sided affair. If you're Edgar, you beg Jake Paul.
You're begging him for a payday now. Ain't you got no dignity?
It speaks to the fighter's mentality, their mindset, that if you believe in yourself and you believe in your boxing, you don't need to worry about Jake Paul and whatever Jake Paul is doing. If you believe in yourself and you believe in your boxing, you'll believe, I don't got to sell my soul to this guy. I don't got to worry about him because I'll make a legacy of my own, money of my own. I got the ability to do it if you believe in yourself. This guy doesn't.
There is a social commentary there. Why were so many boxing aficionados willing to believe that a 58-year-old Mike Tyson still had enough to beat Jake Paul? Why did they want to see it? Because they did.
Nostalgia. Rose-tinted lenses fixed on the past because they are so dissatisfied with the present.
Present-day boxer in America.
There wouldn't be an audience for a Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight, and so many people wouldn't be stuck on the past if they were actually excited about the present and what is going on presently. No, not with fighters like Edgar Berlanga.
You wouldn't have an audience for it.
You wouldn't have anybody to sell it to. A 58-year-old versus a social media influencer, they bought into it because Mike Tyson represents a better era of boxing, a more competitive era.
When men were men.
Not these sissified guys you've got running around now. Doesn't Javante Davis wear nail polish and purses?
Ridiculous.
The American boxer is far too comfortable being ridiculous.